Welcome to Whiskey Nightcaps, the channel where we do sip before sleep. And I am your host, as always, faithfully, Jason Davis. And today we're doing the first ever, the first ever blind tasting on the Whiskey Nightcap channel. This is a historic moment of epic proportions. And we're starting it off with some rye. Now, I think I've said previously on the channel that, I love rye. Rye is hit or miss a lot of times, but I love a good rye when available. Now, I chose two ryes in particular, okay? One is probably my favorite rye of all times that I've had thus far, and those things can change, right? Because you get introduced to new whiskeys, and next thing you know, you're throwing stuff out the garbage like, what was that? I like this rye now, or I like this whiskey now. The second one is a newer rye in my collection, but a rye that I see people talk about all the time, which is the rare breed rye. Now, if you watch my videos, you know I love Wild Turkey. It's no secret, okay? I'm a turkey head. Rare breed was probably one of the bourbons that really gave me a love for bourbons, period, and cemented my love for the Wild Turkey distillery. However, and this may be unpopular opinion, I'm thinking that the Wild Turkey rare breed rye was so sought after and so talked about and hyped up just based on the rare breed bourbon. But I don't know if it necessarily can stand up to that same level of quality, right? But that's what we're here to find out today, because the only way to find out is to remove all the biases that possibly I may have, because Pikesville rye is my favorite rye of all times. Now, if you didn't know, Pikesville rye is coming out of the Heaven Hill distillery. However, many moons ago, it was a product of right here in Maryland, which is why it's called Pikesville, Maryland. But eventually that business went under. I believe Prohibition was the culprit. They put that final nail in the coffin. Heaven Hill got the distillery, got the last stores of alcohol that they had, and when they ran out of that juice, they just started producing more. All right, so let's go to round one with the nosing. Let's see what we got here, buddy. We got you. All right, so we have glass one, glass two. I did not fill these. I had my wife do it. I went upstairs, totally started working on editing another video while all of this was taking place. She has the numbers upstairs. I've been texting her, asking her to send me a picture of it so I can get the reveal at the end, but she's ignoring me. All right, whiskey number one. Ethanol, fermented apples, spearmint. Yeah, there's definitely a fruity note there. That fermented apples and maybe some pear. Cinnamon, but very faint. Granulated sugar. It has a nice bouquet. Ryes often can be overpowering with that rye spice. That's the picture of the numbers right here. So yeah, rye can be overpowering with that rye spice, which is off-putting for a lot of people, but this is actually quite pleasant. Now, I have been letting both of these rest the exact same amount of time. It's been about 20, 30 minutes. Didn't intentionally do that. I ended up having some other stuff to do, and it ran over. All right, so let's go to glass number two. Definitely a little bit more rye spice on this one, fresh out of the gate. Some vanilla, angel food cake, or like a pound cake. More of that pine needle rye kind of aroma. Now, these are perfect to go against each other because of the ABV. The rare breed is 56.1 and the Pikesville is 55%. So very close, very, very similar in ABV. So this is a apples to apples comparison. Remember when I did the Wild Turkey 101 versus the Maker's Mark 101, I admitted that was, apples to oranges, Biggie to Tupac. But this is more in the same realm, okay? This is more like a Biggie versus Jay-Z. All right, so let's go to the palate. Whiskey number one. Whiskey number one, upon entry, met with a very sweet, it's hitting the sweet sensors on the tongue. Followed by the rye spice, which, it's a rye, so that's what we're looking forward to at the end of the day. A honey type of taste on the finish. It really sticks to you, sticks to the inside of the mouth. Right after that honey finish, the rye comes back up again. It's pleasant. It is pleasant. I think that sweetness is the fruitiness that I was getting on the nose. And it's still going. It's still coming out. Like the sweetness is like bursting inside of my mouth, like it was hidden in some pockets. And then it's like, peekaboo, I'm back. All right, let's go to number two. Yeah, it's definitely like those red apples. You let them sit too long and it gets soft. I'm getting that on number one, like it's still coming. We need some water to cleanse the palate. All right, so now that we've eaten ginger, let's go back in for some more sushi and see what we got here. All right, glass number two in the palate. Glass number two has a heavier, thicker mouthfeel. Definitely more rye-y, if that's a word, more rye-y than number one. There's some oakiness, but there's also an astringent type of taste, like nail polish remover or something like that. Finish is more quick, but the rye and that astringent, really? Y'all just gonna transport people while I'm trying to do videos? All right, so let's cleanse the palate one more time, take a little break, pay some bills, run some commercials, and then we'll come back and do round two. All right, so we're gonna go in reverse order this time. We're gonna start with number two, come back to number one, and then give a final assessment of which one of these two has to go. All right, number two, let's try it again while my daughter stomps above me doing TikTok videos. Heavy on the rye. Heavy on the rye, and that's why I have my idea about which one this is. On that sip, the rye was just like straight forward. And that's all I got after that was rye spice. Hot ball. Remember the hot balls we used to eat back in the day? Kind of like that. Before we go to number one, let's read a comment or two. Magnus Von Braun says, "You have the best whiskey reviews on YouTube!" Exclamation mark. I like most doers with the exception of the cheap white label. That was in response to my doers versus doers video, and I concur. The white label is only good really as a mixer, but other doers, like I said, the higher ages, they're pretty decent. I mean, after somebody gives you a comment like that, no need to read any other ones. Let's just go into number one, and then I'll look at this text and see which whiskey is which. But like I said, I think I already have my assumptions. What do you guys think? All right, number one, that's the end of it. I guess some of that sweetness that was on that first sip had, it dissipated. A little bit more rye spice, heavy on that mint rye spice. But there's still some of that sweetness that kind of clings to the tongue, which has to be coming from something like corn. All right, so if you're asking my opinion about which one of these two is the champ, well, at least in this blind, I have to go with number one. I have to go with number one. It was just something about number two that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I'm hoping, I'm praying to the whiskey gods that it is not my favorite whiskey. But only one way to find out. I make sure I got the right ones. All right, let's see, broskies. I gotta make sure she got this right. Oh, wait a second. Wait a minute. I don't even want to tell y'all guys the answer. Video over. Turn the cameras off. Turn the lights off. Everything. Man, this is some BS. The paper says that number one is Wild Turkey Rare Breed, meaning number two was Pikesville Rye, which is crazy. I'm disgusted. Okay, so you're telling me, and they were lined up perfectly. The bottles were lined up perfectly now, you know what I mean? With their corresponding glass, but you're telling me that I like the Wild Turkey Rare Breed more so than the Pikesville? What's wrong with me and my taste buds? I mean, don't get me wrong. It just goes to show how much of a Wild Turkey fan I am, because obviously even when not even knowing, I'm still rooting for them. That's crazy. Well, I guess it is what it is. Video over. I'm out.